We're going live.
Excellent.
I think there's some chat going on.
Is that on YouTube?
On Zoom. We're live. We're going live.
Just going to give the link to Telegram people.
Yes.
Oh, hey, Simon. Thanks for joining us. See some people chatting on YouTube. Craig. Hey, Craig.
Oh, Simon. Been chatting with him on Twitter.
Yeah, I tweeted at him just before.
Feel free to.
Yeah, you reckon we're good to get into the introduction?
Yep. You like?
Yep. All right. Welcome, everyone. Thank you for joining us today for today's masterclass. I'm James from the Binance Australia team. We're very excited to have you here as always this afternoon. With the major bull runs we have been experiencing in the crypto market, crypto security is more important than ever. So for tonight's masterclass, we'll be covering how to keep your cryptocurrency safe. Our speaker tonight will be Chris Pavlesic. Chris is the founder and CEO of Australia's leading cold storage cryptocurrency hardware wallet provider, Coinstop. He established Coinstop in November 2016, based in Victoria and New South Wales. Chris is also one of the founding directors of the Oxen Privacy Tech Foundation, a privacy-focused non-for-profit technology foundation in Australia. Chris, would you like to say a few words to introduce yourself?
Thanks, James. Thanks for the lovely introduction. Thanks to everyone for joining us here today as well. It's good to be here. I always love talking about security. It's one of my passions, obviously. So hopefully I can help you guys learn a thing or two today. But appreciate everyone joining in on a Wednesday evening. It's great to see so many enthusiastic crypto people joining the space, whether they're young and old. And yeah, James pretty much summed up sort of my history in crypto. I've been involved loosely since 2013, more professionally since 2016 when I helped found Coinstop. But the two things I'm ultimately passionate about is security and privacy. So, and that's hence my involvement with Coinstop and the OPTF. But yeah, I'm really looking forward to getting stuck into it.
Yes, thanks for that, Chris. So we'll have a Q&A session after Chris's presentation to go through the questions you guys have submitted pre the video. And thanks to Binance Australia and Coinstop, we'll be giving away 4 prizes, a Ledger Nano S, 1 Trezor, and 2 Binance swag packs for this masterclass. So don't forget to stick around for our announcement of the giveaway winners after the Q&A session. So let's get started. Chris, if you wanted to go ahead with your presentation.
Thanks, James. So I guess what we'll be talking about today and what we'll hopefully learn if you don't already know this sort of stuff, some basic crypto security concepts. So things like private keys, seed phrases, digital signatures, 2FA, the differences between hot wallets and cold wallets and sort of what they mean, the different types of cryptocurrency wallets, the common scams in the space, how to spot them and how to sort of make sure you don't fall prone to their attacks. And some basic tips to how to secure your crypto holdings. That's kind of the main agenda on for today. So getting straight into it. What is a public/private key? So public keys or public addresses, I like to use the analogy that makes it really easy for people to understand. A public address is kind of like your BSB and account number in terms of traditional banking. So it's the piece of information that you can share with others so you can receive cryptocurrencies, whether that's Bitcoin, Ethereum, or any other type of crypto asset. A public address is generally what you are providing with someone if they're wanting to send you crypto assets. So you can see below on the screen here, there's an example of a Bitcoin address. There are different variants of Bitcoin addresses, which I won't get into the technicalities there, but basically it's a long string of characters. And that's what you essentially provide others for when you want to make transactions to that particular wallet. A private key, however, as it sounds, is something that should be kept private. It's basically kind of like your PIN code or your password to your internet banking. So whilst it's okay to share your BSB and account number, it's certainly not okay to be sharing your PIN code to your credit card or your password to your online banking portal, because that's obviously something that allows people to send transactions out of your wallet. So whilst we don't need permission for people to send to our public address, I'll happily provide my Bitcoin address at the end of this presentation if people want to test that out for themselves, but I certainly won't be sharing my private key because that's something that I want to keep to myself, and because I want to be in control of, those moments where money is being sent out of my wallet. It's a really important concept to understand. One of the most fundamental concepts when it comes to wallets is understanding the differences between public keys and private keys and how to manage them safely and securely. What is a seed phrase? So commonly with hardware wallets and even software wallets, seed phrases or what they might be known as recovery phrases also. It's usually a collection of somewhere between 12 and 24 words, simple to remember words like chair, table, hello, all those kind of really basic kind of words. You can see an example on the screen below of a set of seed phrases. I hope no one owns that. Certainly not mine, but usually it's spelled out like that. And this is the piece of information that is used if something happens to your wallet. So let's say, for instance, you've got a hardware wallet and you've got a whole bunch of Bitcoin and different crypto assets on it, and suddenly it goes walkabouts and you can't find it. That's obviously pretty bad news. But if you have your seed phrase or your recovery phrase or your set of words, you can actually use those set of words to recover those lost wallets. So if anything, the set of words is actually more important than the physical device itself. I wouldn't recommend it, but you could, in theory, send all your Bitcoin to your hardware wallet, flush your hardware wallet down the toilet, and as long as you've got your words, you can actually restore those same accounts and those same assets that you've just flushed down the toilet through that same set of 12 or 24 words. So it's fundamentally something that you really need to make sure that you're not sharing with others. You're not using it on a presentation screen like this so other people can see. You're not sending an email to yourself with a copy. The whole point of a recovery phrase, is certainly with a hardware wallet at least, is to generate and to store these offline. So to not send a text message or an email to yourself, to not take a photo and store it on your iCloud, because these are all internet connected environments, and that kind of undoes your security before you've even gotten started. So in my opinion, and it's pretty hard to refute this, I think the recovery phrase is probably the most important thing in cryptocurrency, period. I don't think there's anything more important than that, because if someone has your keys, someone has your coins. So don't be sharing this with other people. I kind of just touched on why a seed phrase is important. I think it's sort of, with that explanation, it kind of makes sense. And I think people can really understand that, it's something that you really don't want to be sharing with others, because if you do, you are giving the keys away to your assets. And that's obviously a bad thing unless you trust that particular person with all of your assets, which, you probably shouldn't really be doing that unless it's sort of a really trusted family member or something like that. Second factor authentication. So some of you who maybe are using Binance or have used other cryptocurrency exchanges are probably already familiar with this, but 2FA, as it's more commonly known as, it's a method of establishing access to an online account or computer system that requires the user to provide two different types of information. So for instance, if I was using Binance Australia, I would log into my account via my email address and password. It then may ask me to have a second factor authentication through a 6-digit code, whether it be an SMS or an email authenticator, or what I prefer, something like the Google Authenticator app, which is an application you can download on your smartphone. You can pair it to your account on Binance, and then every 30 seconds, I believe it is, a fresh code is generated, and that must be used when you're signing into your account. So that kind of avoids the instance where someone could get access to your email address and password for your Binance account, which is obviously a bad thing. But without that second factor authentication app and code, they're not going to be able to get into your account. So it's just sort of adding another layer of protection to your online environment. Like I just mentioned, my preference would usually be something like a Google Authenticator app or something similar to that, but you can use SMS for this same sort of thing. The problem I find with SMS is things like SIM swapping is a real thing. So people can actually basically take control of your mobile phone number. And if your mobile phone number is being used to send those or to receive those text messages with your code, and someone actually takes control of your mobile phone number, you've suddenly now given them the keys to be able to log into your account via your account, your password, and now their mobile phone. So it's usually not considered as secure as something like a Google Authenticator app. So that would be my recommendation there. Now, obviously, when you're setting up your Google Authenticator app for the first time, if anyone's done this, you get given a set of backup keys. It's very important, similar to the private key or the recovery phrase. It's something that's quite important to back up, to either write it down or have it noted somewhere in a encrypted file or something like that on your computer. So should the case where your mobile phone malfunctions or it reaches its end of its life, or again, you drop it in some water or something like that, all of your Google Authenticator codes are suddenly lost, and you're not going to be able to log into Binance and any other websites that you rely on that app for. So having your backup keys allows you to then restore those codes onto your new iPhone or your new Android phone or whatever it is that you've lost. So an important step and worth certainly backing up when you set up your Authenticator app for the first time. All right, moving on to cryptocurrency storage. One of my favorite parts of what I do. So if anyone's familiar with cryptocurrencies, you've probably used or heard of a hot wallet or a software wallet. Software wallets are most commonly either desktop or smartphone applications where everything kind of lives within that device itself. So you could, download something like the Trust Wallet or Exodus or anything like that for either your desktop or your mobile. And, that's where you manage, send, receive all of your crypto assets. Incredibly convenient, obviously, because it's at the palm of your hand. There's no additional steps required, but it's generally not considered as safe as something like a hardware wallet or what we call a cold wallet. So in my opinion, and my recommendation is usually, if you are going to be using software wallets for their convenience, not to be using it with, incredibly large amounts of money. This could be something where you periodically top up your software wallet with $100 or $200. Let's say if you're maybe going to hang out with mates and you want to pay them back for pizza, or you want to go down to the local coffee store and buy some coffee or whatever it is. It's an insignificant amount of money. If something does go wrong, if you do get your keys hacked or anything like that, you haven't lost your whole bag. So I usually only recommend using software wallets with small amounts of money. And then when that depletes, you can simply top it up with more money as you need it. And that's kind of the way that I use software wallets. And I think that's probably the safest way to use them, because all of the important stuff, including your private key, is sitting in your smartphone or your desktop. And because these are internet connected devices, they have inherent defects because people can access this information remotely. If someone uploaded or you downloaded, say, a file, a music file or a video, and inside was embedded some piece of malware, they could, in theory, have screen capturing software or key logging software where they could extract your password and or your private keys. So, this is obviously quite a severe type of attack, but is certainly possible. And that's why, again, I only recommend putting small amounts of money like that. There are some additional conveniences of software wallets as well. It can allow for multi-signature setups to be quite streamlined and easy. For those who don't know what multi-signature is, essentially, instead of having just one device or one key to sign a transaction, you actually have to have multiple devices or keys. So you could say set up an account or a wallet which uses your mobile phone, say your partner's mobile phone, and I don't know, let's say your lawyer's mobile phone. And to actually make a transaction out of that account, you'll actually need 2 of 3 of those devices. So you'd need either yourself and your partner, or yourself and your lawyer, or your partner and your lawyer. So that kind of stops any one party from being able to take control and send money without at least another person authorizing that particular transaction. Most commonly, individuals aren't using this type of multi-signature setup. This is more commonly used for businesses, or say trusts, or funds, or something like that. So for the individual, this might not be super relevant, but it's something worth knowing nonetheless. Hardware wallets, or cold wallets, which is obviously my specialty and the thing that I heavily promote because I think they're just fantastic. I've got a couple here, an example. I'll see if I can hold them up to the camera. So that's the Ledger Nano S, quite a little nifty device, has like a little screen in it as well, which shows you the little bits of information that you need to do. Another common one would be the Trezor One. Again, another popular device, actually the first hardware wallet ever designed. And here's another device called the Bitbox, which is a Swiss-built device. So they're all pretty compact and pretty small. They fit in the palm of your hand. More often, commonly sort of referred to as glorified USB sticks, but they're obviously much more than just a simple USB stick that you could buy from, say, Officeworks or something like that. They are dedicated devices that store your private keys and generate your private keys offline. And that's probably the key point, is that at no point does the private information, the private key, touch an internet connected environment, which is where all the bad stuff tends to happen. So it considerably reduces the impact of any type of malicious software or vulnerable malware or anything like that from reaching those keys. It says here, secure option for high net worth individuals. That is true, but I would even recommend them for sort of anyone. It doesn't, there isn't a perfect number or a certain number or threshold that once you meet it, you must get a hardware wallet. I usually say to people, if the assets that you currently own, and this number is different for everyone, if the assets that you currently own is an amount of money where you would be upset if you woke up in the morning and it would be gone, then you probably should get a hardware wallet. These things start from as little as $99. So if you've got, say, $1,000, and that's something that you'd be fairly upset if you lost tomorrow, get a hardware wallet for $99. If you've got $10,000, and again, that number is to be determined by the individual, but it's a pretty small cost to pay for sort of being able to sleep easy at night and know that a lot of these remote style attacks are essentially non-existent because you're using a hardware wallet. They are pin protected devices. So every time you plug them into a computer or a smartphone, it will prompt you for a pin. And this is something that you set up upon the initialization of the device. And more, I think most hardware wallets, if not at least the main ones like Ledger, certainly have a feature where if somebody did get control of your hardware wallet and plugged it into their own computer and tried to sort of brute force their way into the hardware wallet via your PIN code, after 3 incorrect attempts of the PIN code, the device actually completely wipes. It goes back to factory standards. So any of the accounts and wallets on there are gone. And the only way then to regain access to those accounts is, as you guessed it, through your recovery phrase or those 24 or 12 words that we touched on earlier. So again, that's why I will reiterate, it is the most important part of the puzzle, making sure those words are safe, because whilst it's inconvenient to lose your hardware wallet, it's certainly not the end of the world as long as you've got those words. That will be the thing that you will be able to basically say, hey, Chris, send me another wallet. I've lost it. It's been stolen. I dropped it in the toilet, but I've got my words. I want you to send me a new wallet. I'm going to put those words back onto my new wallet, and voila, like magic, your assets are back and restored to that brand new wallet. So this is another reason why hardware wallets, are quite good. If you lose your smartphone and you're using a hot wallet, that's kind of the end of the game, unless you do have your seed phrase backed up as well. But usually, I think people take that step for granted when they're using a smartphone, because it's kind of just, it's not really pushed as an important step where, when you set these hardware wallets up for the first time, it's, you're prompted multiple times to make sure that you write this down, that it's not an optional thing. Like, you must write it down. You must confirm that you've written it down. These things take your security seriously. So some examples, I know I showed a few examples there on the webcam as to some of the hardware wallets, but some software wallets that a lot of people have probably heard of or used: Exodus, My Ether Wallet, Jax, Blockchain.com, Electrum. I mean, Trust Wallet is another one. There are endless amounts of software wallets for iOS and Android and even desktop. Again, they're all really, really convenient. A lot of them have, multiple different cryptocurrency compatibility. They're super easy to use. They're quick. They're clean. The user experience is nice. The only downside is that it lacks in security. And so that's where hardware wallets come in. So, some of the ones that essentially either we sell or I personally use are the ones listed there. So the Ledger Nano S, which is the one I showed earlier, the Nano X, which is kind of the premium model of that brand, the Trezor One, the Trezor T, again, which is the premium model, and the Bitbox 02 comes in both a multi-edition and a BTC only edition for those that just want to hold BTC. So yeah, some of these software wallets actually do work with hardware wallets. So for instance, My Ether Wallet is one that you can actually use the software of My Ether Wallet, but you can actually use the hardware of your hardware wallet to be able to sign transactions. So it's kind of the best of both worlds. You get the security of the hardware wallet, but you get to use the convenience of the user experience and the user interface of My Ether Wallet. So that can be really cool. Some people might be really familiar with MetaMask, which is a web-based browser or web-based hot wallet. Really convenient because you go to plenty of websites and it kind of just pops up and says, oh, hey, log into your MetaMask wallet. Really convenient, bad for security because web browsers are not known as, the most secure environments. But the beauty of those is you can actually connect your Ledger or your Trezor directly to your MetaMask. So anytime you do want to sign for a transaction, you actually have to physically press a button on the hardware wallet. So it's like that second factor authentication app when signing into your Binance account. Instead of it just being, click your button on your mouse and you can sign a transaction, you actually have to physically have the hardware wallet plugged into your computer and you have to press the button on the hardware wallet. So that stops anybody from anywhere else in the world attacking your accounts because they obviously can't press the physical button if they're not in the room with the device itself. So that I actually do that myself. I use MetaMask and I route that through my hardware wallet. So I'm getting the best of both worlds there. Again, I'm going to reiterate about the seed phrase backup. This is what's used to restore your wallets in case it's lost, stolen, or it starts malfunctioning. Obviously, hardware wallets as well, they're a piece of electronics, so they will eventually stop working. Nothing lasts forever, as we know. They do have good shelf life. I think, we've been selling wallets since 2016, and I know some of those wallets are still running now. So, they've got a better lifespan than, say, a smartphone, which generally only lasts about a year or two, unless you're like sort of really careful with it. But yeah, the storage of your seed phrase is again the most important piece of the puzzle. Usually, when people set up hardware wallets for the first time, they'll tend to just write it down on the piece of paper that's supplied in the packaging. That's good for an interim solution because obviously a piece of paper is still an offline environment. Again, I'm not going to recommend you write them down on a notepad in your PC or write them down in the notes on your phone or take a photo of it or anything like that because you've just undone your security before you've even loaded any assets onto your hardware wallet. Again, keep those words offline. So a piece of paper is good, but the problem with a piece of paper is obviously it's quite fragile. So it can easily be burnt. It can get dirty. You can spill coffee on it. Ink can just simply deteriorate after time. It just runs. And then suddenly 3 years down the track, you're going to need to access your words. And suddenly you don't know if that word is, dog or if it's a different word completely. So pieces of papers are good, but taking it to the next level, like we sell devices like you can see there in the bottom right hand corner called the Billfodl, and there are a number like a crypto tag or a crypto steel. There are a number of different products that do similar things, but they're basically the Billfodl, for instance, is a 316 stainless steel grade piece of metal, and it's rust proof, waterproof, fireproof, and shockproof. So this is the thing that will, if your house burns down, God forbid, your hardware wallet melts to bit. Your piece of paper melts to bits, but your seed phrase sitting in your Billfodl is sitting at the bottom of the rubble. So whilst obviously it sucks that your house is burnt down, I hope that doesn't happen to anybody. We live in a country where bushfires are quite severe. So this, it is a reality for a lot of people. Having it on a bill fodder means at the end of the day, your crypto assets will be recoverable because you have your words sitting on that piece of steel. So that's a really good solution for people that kind of want to take it to the next step. For someone with a serious amount of money that maybe is worried that, I have an investment horizon for say 10, 20 years. And if that piece of paper is unreadable in 5 or 10 years, the time that you do go to sort of cash out or interact with your assets, you suddenly can't read the words. That's a really bad situation to be in. So something like a bill fodder definitely helps with those instances. And for sort of the advanced users, again, this is probably something that people who would want to use a multi-sig or maybe have a significant amount of money. We're talking hundreds of thousands or even in the millions, whether it be for a trust, an investment fund, or maybe a private company. Setting up a multi-signature on your seed words is also an interesting concept. So think of your 24 words as 3 sets of 16 words, sort of set A, set B, set C, and each set only has 2/3 of the puzzle. So you may have set A sitting in your home, you may have set B sitting in your lawyer's office, and you may have set C sitting in a bank deposit box, right? And if someone robbed your home and they found your set A, they would only be able to get 2/3 of the puzzle, which means they're not going to be able to restore your assets. So the whole idea is that you're going to need 2 of those 3 locations to be able to restore your cryptocurrency assets. So it's really inconvenient because if you do need to act quickly, you're going to have to go to 2 locations to do that. But it's also a more robust security setup because if someone does compromise one location, they haven't undone all of your security. So it's an interesting concept to think about. Again, we do sell the bill fodder multi-shard, which is similar to what you see there in the bottom right-hand side of the screen, but it's essentially 3 plates. And again, each plate has those sets. So you could put one buried in the ground in the backyard. You could put one in a safety deposit box in a bank, and you could put one, in your safe or something like that. And you can kind of rest easy knowing that if any one of those locations, like say a rogue bank employee opens up the vault and takes your recovery phrase, they don't have enough of the puzzle to be able to access your crypto assets. So it's again an advanced sort of setup, but it might be interesting for some people. All right, let's move on to some common scams. This is probably the most relevant in terms of certainly crypto, but even just non-crypto related internet activity, phishing attacks. So a phishing attack is a type of cyber attack where a malicious actor poses as a reputable entity or business in order to deceive people and collect their sensitive information. So the most relevant, if anyone's been paying attention to sort of the Ledger data breach, it was they had their customer database breached. So nothing to do with the hardware wallets specifically. They are still very much secure and safe, but their website got hacked, and through that hack, a number of customers had their names, their addresses, their mobile phone numbers, and their emails taken. And so, whilst you certainly can't get anybody's assets through that information, you can start performing phishing attacks. So what ended up happening was people were imitating Ledger. They were sending emails and text messages to this user base, from what looked like an official Ledger email or text message, asking them to click a link in order to update their device or something like that. And if you sort of didn't know any better, you would think, oh, this is Ledger, I need to update my device, I better click this link. You click the link and it takes you to a page which looks like a legitimate website from Ledger, and then it asks you to enter your 24 words, your recovery phrase, part of the process to set up, which is certainly not what Ledger or anybody will ever ask. Again, you should never ever be prompted to put your 24 words or 12 words onto the internet, period. That you should never do that. Even if you lose your hardware wallet and you need to buy a new one, you are only ever entering your words onto the hardware wallet itself. And again, that's an offline or a cold storage device, which means it's not being exposed to the internet. So this was a really, really common attack that's been going on for the last sort of 12 to 18 months because of that data breach. Again, I will reiterate, this doesn't mean their devices are not safe. Their devices are safe. It's just simply that their website was hacked and some personal data was taken, but nothing to do with the actual physical devices themselves. So another common phishing attack that's been going around close to home as well has been people have been getting phone calls or text messages from what appeared to be Australia Post. And it was something along the lines of, we have a delivery that's coming your way, but before we can deliver it, we're going to need you to pay this $2.50 fee in order to get it through the process. And if you didn't know any better, you would think, oh, okay, well, it's just $2.50. I want to get my package. I better pay this fee. And the reality is that this person was just, impersonating Australia Post, hoping to get, 1,000 people to pay $2.50. And, that's a good payday for them. So I guess my advice on here would be always double check that you're dealing with the official company that's corresponding to you. So if Ledger is asking something from you, instead of just thinking, okay, it is Ledger, go to their website, find their direct official communication channels and send them an email or give them a call and say, hey, I got an email from you requesting these things. Can you just confirm that this is true? They will obviously then say, well, no, this was not us. And that would be the point where you'd stop and figure out that this is a red flag. Again, with Australia Post, if you're unsure whether this is a legitimate, request to pay for something, give Australia Post a call. Go to their official website, grab their phone number, call their customer support and say, hey, I got this text message in relation to this package. It's asking me to pay for something. Is this legitimate? That's usually the best way to kind of double check whether this is a scam or not, but they're out there, so be careful. Impersonation scams. These are another common one as well, kind of like the phishing attack as well. You can see sort of an email being addressed from a university, which is directing someone to a particular link to update their password. It looks legitimate, has the university's logo. It even might even come from what looks like a legitimate university domain. The problem is that's not legitimate. They're asking for your password because they want to be able to get into your account themselves. When you change your password on their portal, that's just you giving them your current password. So be really, really careful about this sort of stuff. Again, make sure that you're not dealing with impersonators. If you're ever unsure, reach out to the company directly and just confirm that. A really, really common one in crypto is Telegram impersonators. So you can see here a screenshot of actually the CEO of the project that I work for, Simon, and someone's impersonated his Telegram and used the same profile image, used the same username, or at least it looks like the same username, used the same bio. But the real kicker is that his username on Telegram is not HAA finger, it's actually HA finger. So they've added an extra A. But if you didn't sort of pay much attention, you would think, okay, this is Simon. Look at the photo. The bio says what it should say. And what they'll end up doing is they'll directly message you on Telegram, asking for you to maybe send them a little bit of Bitcoin because they don't have their wallet on them and it's urgent, and they'll promise to send it back at a later date. Or they might ask you to click a link to go update some type of software or something like that. These are really big red flags. You do not want to be clicking these links or certainly don't want to be giving random people on the internet Bitcoin. Be very careful. If you're in any Telegram group, I know this is even happening probably in the Binance community as well. Just be really, really, really vigilant that you're not dealing with imposters. If you're ever unsure, reach out to the official admins. Certainly on most Telegram groups, they will have admin tags. So you'll be able to spot whether the person is, the legitimate admin or a mod of that particular Telegram group. That's supposed to say rug pull, but rug pull kind of works as well, I guess. And exit scams. These are sort of the other common way people tend to sort of lose money in cryptocurrency. I think everyone's heard of the term shitcoin. Shitcoin rug pulls are certainly something that are really relevant in bull markets where everybody's trying to take advantage of the hype. Projects are coming out of left, right, and center. Everybody's suddenly got a blockchain or a cryptocurrency project, and it's quite easy to whip up a really flashy looking white paper or a flashy looking website promising all these great features. But the problem is, they're really rushed. They're put together by teams who are very inexperienced or who just have, bad intentions. So unaudited smart contracts where, there might be vulnerabilities inside the smart contracts. Maybe their intentions are good, but they're just not proficient coders, and somebody finds an exploitation and siphons all of the money out that people have invested into that particular project. So you've got to be really careful when you're dealing with new and exciting projects. I know there's a lot of FOMO, and people don't want to miss the boat and think that this particular coin's going to go to the moon and all that sort of stuff. But just take a deep breath, do a little bit of research, take a look at the website, look at the team, have a look at their experience, have a look if they've got any investors, see if their smart contracts have been audited. Just do a little bit of research. I mean, some common sense always prevails. You wouldn't certainly throw money at a random person on the side of the road promising something without maybe finding out, do they have the ability to actually deliver what they're promising? Use that same common sense in crypto. It's better you take time to look at these things and miss out on a potential huge opportunity than get yourself involved with something that you haven't done your due diligence on and lose all your money. This happens far too often, and it really breaks my heart when I see people get, kind of overzealous and get into something that they really shouldn't be doing. Same goes with exchange exit scams or hacks. Some of the common ones like Quadriga and Cryptopia. Quadriga was a Canadian exchange that was predominantly run by their CEO, and he had access to all of the exchange users' keys. So when he went on a holiday to India and he suffered a heart attack, and he was the only person with the backup of their keys. So that meant nobody else in the company, nor the customers, could get control of their assets. They were completely gone forever. So it's probably good to only use reputable exchanges, ones that have been around for a long time, have proved themselves, have kind of the reputation that they're doing the right thing, maybe even transparent about some of their things. They're obviously not going to divulge too heavily into their security, but are willing to talk about sort of what they're doing, why it matters, all that sort of stuff. In Cryptopia's case, I believe they were good people, but they just got caught up in a cryptocurrency hack. So their platform was hacked back in 2018, and a few $1 million was stolen. And for the users who were affected by this, and I know a few personally, to date they still have not had their money returned to them. It's going through the New Zealand courts trying to work out how can we remunerate the people who didn't have their crypto assets stolen. So a good reminder that whilst exchanges are convenient for trading cryptocurrencies and disposing and acquiring cryptocurrencies, they're maybe not the safest place to store your cryptocurrencies long term. That's what hardware wallets are generally considered at the best of. And also fake exchanges. It's quite easy to whip up a website that looks like the official Binance website, but it just isn't. So when you go to deposit money there, they'll certainly allow you to deposit, but they'll sort of throttle or not allow you to be able to withdraw. And that's usually a big red flag when it comes to using exchanges. So like I always say to people, kind of just dip your toes. If you've landed on a particular exchange you want to use, there's no need to throw, several thousands at it instantly and, go balls to the wall. Maybe just throw $50 in, do a trade, get familiar with the platform, maybe try to withdraw that $50. And if everything goes smoothly, then you've suddenly got a little bit of confidence in that particular platform, and then you can go a little bit heavier next time. But, certainly don't want to be throwing all your eggs in one basket. Some sort of top tips to keep your crypto assets secure. Always use a hardware wallet for any significant amounts of money. I think I've made that pretty clear. These things are the gold standard when it comes to securing your crypto assets. Whilst there is slight trade-off in convenience, there is certainly an exponential amount of positive security that you get for using a hardware wallet. They're only getting better in terms of user experience. So over time, those inconvenience will just certainly deplete to sort of nothing. Never share your private key with anyone. It should only ever be entered into an offline device like a hardware wallet or a cold wallet. Again, I've said it 2 or 3 times already, but do not share your private key or your seed phrase or your recovery phrase with anyone. Do not share it with an online environment. Do not take a photo of it. Do not write it in an email and send it to your own email. Don't store it in your Google or iCloud storage. none of those places. It should only ever be stored in an offline environment, whether that be a piece of paper. I mean, if you can remember 24 words, that's probably the best. But again, I usually don't suggest that unless you've got some sort of crazy photographic memory and really, really good memory. I do not. Or use something like a billfodl, those pieces of steel where you can either engrave or slide in tiles, which will represent those words. Always double check addresses when making transactions. This is a really good tip. Anytime you're doing something for the first time, whether that's sending to a hardware wallet, sending to an exchange, or sending to a friend, or certainly for any large transactions, it's often good to send a small test transaction. You don't want to make an error. I'm sure a lot of us, including myself, have made errors in cryptocurrencies. That's kind of part of the journey. But if I can sort of educate you from not making those errors, then that's good for everyone. Making sure that when you're copying addresses from one area and pasting it into the other area, that you're going back and double checking that you've copied and pasted the correct or the full public address. It'd be terrible to miss the final letter, or to think you've copied and pasted something, but turns out you've left the previous copy on your clipboard. So just go back, double check. There's no need to rush anything. Crypto transactions are pretty fast compared to legacy systems. So even if you have to go back 2 or 3 times and double check the entire public address to make sure you're sending it to the right place, do it. Once you've done it a couple of times, you will be confident in that process and you can sort of start to speed it up. But I do this every time. Every time I'm making a transaction, I will go back and forth between the places to make sure I'm sending it to the right address. Because if you send it to the wrong address, that's it. There's no undoing that. And that actually happened to one of the guys here at Coinstop. I don't know if he's in the channels right now, but he sent some of our money to the wrong address, and it was a tough learning experience for us all. So I think if we can avoid that, then that's good. Never click suspicious links or files. This kind of goes down to the common scams. Making sure that if you're getting an email or a Telegram message, you're not clicking on random files from people you don't know. If you're not sure, just don't click. If it's someone you don't know, then that's even more reason not to click. If it's a friend and you still think this is a bit out of character for my friend, reach out to that friend directly on a communication channel where that's them, whether that's, give them a call on their mobile phone number and hear their voice, or email them on their official email, wherever it might be. There's nothing wrong with double checking things, because, once you've clicked the link, that might be the thing that triggers a piece of malware onto your computer. And then who knows, always use 2FA where possible. I certainly recommend it on all of your exchanges. If your exchange platform doesn't support 2FA, I would say change to a different exchange platform. I know Binance, for instance, definitely does 2FA. So, that's really good. Most will. Again, if they're not, I would be changing pretty quickly to a platform that does support 2FA. And certainly never put all your eggs in one basket, whether that's an exchange or a hot wallet. I mean, even a hardware wallet. Whilst I'm not aware of any single person losing even a cent from a hardware wallet attack, other than from their own stupidity, of course. The same can't be said about exchanges and hot wallets. Trillions of dollars have been stolen from exchanges. Things are getting better, thankfully. The trend isn't that more money is being stolen, but it's certainly still a lot of money. So, don't put all your eggs in one basket, even if that means putting a little bit on your exchange, putting a little bit on your hot wallet, and then putting, say, the majority on your hardware wallet. I think that's a sensible level of diversification on your portfolio. Cool. Well, we've reached the end of the presentation. I hope there were some things that were interesting for people. Maybe you learned a thing or two, or maybe it just reiterated what you may have already known. If you want to reach out to me directly, you can do so at my email, chris@coinstop.com, or you can reach out to me on Twitter, which is @lungdoge. Or if you're just interested in looking at sort of our website and some of the products that we sell, you can visit our website on www.coinstop.io. We have a pretty comprehensive blog as well, where you can read about a lot of the things that I've spoken about today. So the differences between public addresses and private addresses, how to connect MetaMask to your hardware wallet, things like that. We're doing weekly blogs. So if you're interested in sort of upping your security education, you can do so there on our website. And then obviously there's the Binance stuff as well, that you can jump on there and chat to the guys at the Binance team and start familiarizing yourself with their platform. But that wraps it up for me, James. If you want to take back over.
Awesome. Straight up, that's awesome. So yeah, while these security layers are, double checking, all of this stuff that you just talked about might seem like a bit of a learning curve for some users. These are definitely the keys that the keys to keeping your holdings secure. So thank you for such an awesome session, Chris. This kind of content I think is so important for people new and people who've been around in crypto for a while, just to refresh on. And just so everyone knows, the recording of this masterclass will be available on the Binance Australia YouTube channel. For those who like join late and want to watch Chris's presentation again, or just keep going over and make sure you learn. This man is very smart in this area, and I really enjoyed that. So if you don't mind, we'll move across to the Q&A session right now. So essentially, we've just grabbed some questions pre the video. So we'll just go through some of them so we can answer. So Chris can answer them. Sorry, I'm just getting them up. All right. Do you need to keep your wallet on you at all times if you are planning to trade?
Yeah, good question. I guess so. I mean, cryptocurrency hardware wallets are probably not the most convenient thing to use if you're say a day trader, for instance. You do have to send between your exchange platform and your hardware wallet for any time you want to action a sell or a trade. So and obviously there are fees incurred with that particular thing. So if you're storing on your hardware wallet, yes, you will have to plug that in and send it to your exchange anytime you do want to action a sell or a trade.
Excellent. No, thank you. So another one here. What is the process for accessing your coins to sell them once they are in the cold wallet?
Yeah, so that kind of goes on to the last question. So basically, once you've say purchased your cryptocurrencies on your say Binance, you then sent them to your hardware wallet after you've set that up, and you've sent it to the public address of your hardware wallet. And say you want to do the reverse at a later date. Basically, all you really need to do is plug in your hardware wallet, and obviously enter the PIN to gain access to your hardware wallet. You then use the software accompanying package of the hardware wallet to navigate to the send function. It's pretty self-explanatory, and you'll see it quite obviously when you set this up for the first time. You hit send. You then obviously going to need to tell your hardware wallet where do you want this to be sent to. So say, for instance, you're sending it to Binance. You then log into your Binance account and hover to the appropriate asset. So let's say, for instance, it's Bitcoin. You would go to your Bitcoin wallet on Binance. You would copy the receiving or the deposit address on your Binance account, head back over to your hardware wallet user interface, paste that Binance receiving account. You would do your little double checks at this point to make sure that you've copied and pasted the right address. And then you just nominate how much Bitcoin you want to send, hit send. Once you've hit send, and this is a really important part of what hardware wallets do, it will actually ask you to confirm that transaction on the physical device itself. So a lot of these wallets will have little screens, and it'll say, are you sure you want to send 1 Bitcoin to XYZ address? Again, you double check that this is the correct address that you want to be sending it to. I'll ask the Binance platform. If everything checks out, you press the physical button on the hardware wallet, and that signs the transaction. And then, after whatever time has elapsed, depending on the asset, it'll appear on your Binance platform.
Perfect. Thank you. Another one here. Do you pay fees every time you transfer in and out of the wallet to trade?
Yeah, and this is kind of the inconvenient part of using a hardware wallet for someone that's constantly trading. You will have to pay blockchain fees every time you either withdraw or you send to your hardware wallet. So again, that really depends on the asset and also the congestion of that particular network. So for anyone that's dealt with Ethereum, for instance, whenever the Ethereum network gets heavily congested, gas fees, are astronomical. Sometimes sending $50 worth of Ethereum, you can actually pay much more in fees. So it just makes no financial sense to even send that Ethereum. But, there are assets that have very low fees. So it really depends on the particular cryptocurrency asset. There are a lot of websites out there that will actually show the fee structure in a live time. So you can just quickly Google Bitcoin fees, and it'll pull up a number of websites that will show what the current average Bitcoin fee is. And the same goes with Ethereum and every other different asset.
Excellent. How do you handle coins that aren't supported by a wallet? Do they stay in an online wallet / exchange?
Yeah, it's a good question. Sadly, cryptocurrency wallets, there is no one cryptocurrency hardware wallet that suits them all. If you go to somewhere like CoinGecko, and you can see there's like nearly 10,000 different cryptocurrency assets currently available in the world, and that's probably only the ones that we know about. There's probably 10 or 100,000 more people sitting in their basements making crypto projects as well. So hardware wallets like Ledgers and Trezors, they support roughly 1,000 to 1,500 different cryptocurrency assets. So it's quite a significant amount, but it's certainly not all. For the ones that aren't supported, you will have to probably look at an alternative. And that usually means either storing them on an exchange, which is obviously a little bit less than ideal, certainly for significant amounts of money, or a software wallet like Exodus or Jax, or the project themselves will have their own software wallet. So you might need to utilize that particular software wallet. So going to the project's website usually will yield some type of download where you can have their official wallet. That's a good place to start. And until they get hardware wallet support, that's probably the best option that you have.
No, great. Thank you again. What's the safest way to store passwords? I know you sort of touched on this. How often would you recommend changing passwords for exchanges, cold wallets, etc.?
Yeah, well, it depends on your appetite and sort of how important these passwords are. If it's a password for topping up your tag to drive around on the toll roads, then I don't really care so much about how secure that is. But if it's something for your Binance account or your email address or something that's your online banking, that's something that you'll probably want to not just have stuck up on the refrigerator. So I use personally, I use a password managing software. So I use LastPass, but there are a number of them out there that do similar things. And basically it's an online encrypted portal where I just have to know one really strong master password, and LastPass will manage all of the other passwords for me, because it's not good practice to have the same password for every website. Whilst that's really easy to remember, that's once someone gets access to one platform, they can essentially go and retry that particular password on all of your other platforms. And if it's the same password, they're getting into everything. So it's really important to have different passwords for everything, but then you can't really expect people to remember 50, 100 different passwords for 100 different websites. So that's where a password manager like LastPass is really good, because you can set unique passwords for every single different website or platform that you use. And all you need to remember to get access to the portal where these passwords live is one really strong master password. So that can be something that's really unique that only you have to remember, but that gives you access to sort of everything else that you have. That can be, essentially a lot of my passwords are just mumbo jumbo, like they're just random letters, uppercase, lowercase, numbers, special characters, because I don't need to remember them. I only need to remember my one really strong master password, and that will get me access to all of the other passwords that I own. The other alternative, if you really want to take it to the next level, is you can actually use hardware wallets for this. So the Trezor, for instance, has a password manager. It works similar to what I've just explained, but instead of it being a master password that gains access to your list of full passwords, it's actually your hardware wallet. So you need to plug your hardware wallet in, you need to access your hardware wallet, and then you can view all of the passwords that are stored within that software. So that's a pretty interesting way that you could go about it as well.
Yeah, no, I use a very similar thing. I use LastPass as well, and I couldn't recommend it more. It's really good for holding passwords, personally. Yep. So, what is the safest way to store your 24 words seed phrase?
Well, I think we touched on that pretty heavily in the presentation, but for anyone that's sort of late coming or didn't quite pick up on it, I think storing it offline is certainly the only way that you should be doing it. The point of a hardware wallet is to generate these things offline, so it makes no sense to start putting it in an online environment. I like something like the Billfodl or the Crypto Tag. You can check out these products on our website. They are high-grade stainless steel products where they're not sort of prone to fire or water or rust or shock or any of those sort of wild elements that could, destroy a piece of paper in a matter of seconds. So for anyone with really significant amounts of money, hundreds of thousands, millions of dollars, or whatever that might mean to you, you could get a bill fodder or a crypto tag for about $150, $200. And you can sort of rest easy knowing that if something happens to your hardware wallet, say it burnt down or it was dropped in the toilet or whatever, your seed phrase, your recovery phrase is secured on a really, really robust device.
Excellent. I think we'll finish up on this question here and then go to the giveaway, because I like this question. I'm not aware of what you should do in this circumstance. So what happens in the event of physical damage for a Ledger or a Trezor wallet?
Yeah, well, I mean, that's like nearly everyone's worst nightmare, right? And we've helped a lot of customers of ours who have gone through similar things where they've misplaced it or they've plugged it in. What tends to happen with a lot of users who are kind of not as into the crypto space, say as I am or you are, James, is during the bear market when prices are going down, they tend to lock up their hardware wallets and they don't touch them for 2 years, 3 years until sort of the price of Bitcoin starts heading the direction that gets everyone excited again. And so we get customers call up, I bought a hardware wallet 3 years ago. I've just dug it out of the cupboard and it doesn't work. Often it's a simple, firmware update that gets everything back to normal, but sometimes it just is a piece of malfunction. It's just been sitting there. The hardware wallet has a shelf life, and then they start panicking. What am I going to do? How do I get my crypto assets? I have a lot of Bitcoin on there. It's a scary thing to happen. But again, as long as you've got your recovery phrase, your 24 set of words or your 12 set of words, you will always be able to restore those crypto assets back onto another hardware wallet. That's just how they're made. So if you ever lose your hardware wallet or gets misplaced or anything like that, just make sure you've got those words. Grab yourself a new hardware wallet. Could even be the same model or it can be the upgraded model. A lot of them are very compatible with each other, but that's something that you can check first. If you're ever unsure, you can just always send us an email and we'll walk you through that process. But then you simply just have to purchase that new hardware wallet. Instead of setting it up as a brand new wallet, you set it up as an existing wallet and you enter those 12 or 24 words into that new wallet, which will restore your old wallets, if that makes sense.
No, it makes perfect sense. The light bulb just went off in my head. I was like, oh yeah, that's right. Great, man. So before we wrap up for tonight, it is time to announce the winners for the giveaway. So we're giving away 1 Ledger Nano S, 1 Trezor, and 2 Binance swag packs. So the winners are, for the Binance swag packs, Yogi K and Ian Shaw. So contact us on Telegram. You'll be receiving the Binance swag packs, and then the Trezor will go to Michael Rosiak. Sorry if I pronounced that wrong. And is that everyone, Vicky? That's the 1, 2, 3.
Nano S. We're still going to give away Nano S.
Yeah. So we've got, do you want to announce it?
See there, Mark D. Yes, Mark D. Contact me on Telegram, on the Binance Australia Telegram, to claim your prizes. I'm pretty sure everyone's on the Telegram on that list, so that's nice and easy. So again, thank you, Chris, for joining us tonight. We've reached the end of the masterclass. Is there any sort of final thoughts or anything you want to end on?
I mean, I think I've reiterated probably the most important point like 5 or 6 times now, and it's just making sure that your recovery phrase is set up safe, is securely being stored, and is not touching an online environment. If you do those basic fundamentals right, if the world ends, if the world ends, we've got a lot of problems. But if your house burns down or something severe happens to you, your assets are safe. That same sort of thing does not apply to online environments. So it's really important that you understand those concepts, and I really can't reiterate that enough. I guess if anyone wants to hang around, I know there's a whole bunch of questions on the YouTube that just been like popping off. There's a bunch of questions sitting here in the Zoom as well. I'd be happy to hang around for another 15 or 20 minutes and just quickly go over some of those questions, because there's some pretty interesting questions in there as well. I don't know if we have the ability to do that, James.
Thank you. What's the go with that?
I think we'll have to close the Zoom live for now. Maybe if you guys have any questions, let's bring the conversation over to our Telegram chat. We have a lot of angels, and we'll put Chris in it as well. So If you guys have any more questions for this masterclass, go to the Binance Australia Telegram group.
Yeah, Chris, I don't know if you're happy to join the Telegram. I can open up the voice channel on the Telegram group. Might just take 10 minutes or so. We can see if we can filter some people in there if you want to jump in there and answer some questions. And I'll jump in as well and just be the admin.
Yeah, sure. It seems like everyone still wants to learn more, and so I'm happy to sort of hang around and chat, because there's some interesting
Me
questions.
too, man. It's just the time restraints. I'm sorry.
No, that's fine.
So
I guess I'd just say, super thankful to James, Vicky, and Binance Australia for inviting me to do this. I love doing this sort of stuff. I'm sure you can hear the enthusiasm and passion in my voice for what we do. It's just, I've fallen completely down the rabbit hole once I got into this space. So I'm really appreciative that you guys reached out. I hope everyone enjoyed themselves and learn a thing or two. And hopefully we can keep the conversation going over in the Telegram. If not, reach out to me on Twitter, reach out to us on our website via email or anything like that. Always happy to have a chat. Thanks, James. Thanks, Vicky.
no worries. I'm loving the passion there. Let's jump in the Telegram, and if we could I'll start putting the links in the YouTube. If we could get Angels to put the link in there, we'll get everyone in there and we'll see what we can do. All right. Make sure to like and subscribe to the Binance Australia YouTube channel. Join our Telegram to come hang out. We'll see you in there. Thank you.
Just dropping the link now. There we go. Oh.
Cheers, Chris. I'll see you in there.
Thanks, James.
All right. Thanks, guys.
See you, everyone.